Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of guitar building chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi.
Great. Well, good morning for people, if there's anyone here in the UK, but hello to everyone else. I'm just like... So for those of you that haven't been here before, this is the Guitar Builders Collective chat. The Guitar Builders Collective originally was a group of people that met online, and now we exist through various forums, like was mentioned in the intro. And we've been doing this live stream every Thursday for nearly a year now. We're trying to do it at slightly different times so we can get different guests on. But today we're joined by Andrew. We'll find out a bit more about Andrew later. He's a friend of Corey. So if you've watched the last few months, Corey's been on quite regularly. Corey is very integral to the Guitar Builders Collective. He manages the Instagram account. I think he was there at the very beginning when the forum was set up and all the online discussion. And he's also over on the Facebook group a lot. We've got Scott below and Mark that way. Both of those are in Texas and are regular co-hosts with me. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
We've got a live stream happening at the same time. I'm not sure who will be around today, but if you're watching in the future and you'll want to join us one Thursday, please do log in on YouTube, join in with the chat. We're going to be talking to Andrew a bit about his background, how he got into guitar making, about Knightro Guitars, and also about your day job at Jackson Charvel. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Andrew, just quickly, how did you meet Corey? How did you make a connection with Corey?
We met, I believe, because we were all on the same kind of like set of guitar builder forums, gosh, it's probably been at least 10 years at this point. We were both on, My Les Paul, the Luthier's Corner, Luthier Talk, Project Guitar. I'm sure maybe he was on 7-string. I can't remember. We have been kind of in the same internet guitar dude circles for a long time. And it's been really cool watching. I really have enjoyed watching his style kind of like develop as he's been going. He's like a mad scientist down there. It's really cool.
Yeah, and incredibly prolific.
Oh, he builds stuff so fast. Like I can't even. It's wild. I think he might have frozen.
Daniel, you there?
Daniel
froze.
Oh no.
That's bad. If he has to restart, it might kick everybody.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, watching Corey is pretty crazy. He there's a new project every time you turn around.
We chat on like Instagram or Facebook Messenger fairly regularly, and it's always like a new photo of like some crazy thing he's come up with, and it's like, what are you doing now, man?
Yeah, I can't keep up, but it's clearly he's doing his thing and he's trying to engage, and I can't. I'm trying to hide the fact that I don't know what we're on now. This is a different project. Last time I saw it was something totally different. It's crazy. Wow. There we go. I thought that would happen.
We blanked out for a minute.
And he's still frozen.
Oh, bummer, dude.
Oh, Daniel. Yeah, so I try to act like I'm in on the continuity, but I feel like a time traveler.
I try to keep track because it's pretty regular. Like when I see something from him, but it's like yeah, man, it's I love watching it though. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, more often than not, we're sharing memes and stupid reels and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, all his build stuff. It's hard to keep track of what project he's on now. It's and he's doing some crazy stuff. And I like to see the experimentation. You know, when he started working with. Daniel was having technical difficulties.
There's two of us. Oh, three of us. All right.
Come on,
Well,
Daniel.
Yeah, let's just continue without Daniel. I'm pretty sure we know exactly the direction he wanted to go.
Sure.
Talking to you, Andrew. So let's just go ahead and start with your background because everybody wants to.
Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Oh, we're back.
Yes.
Hey, you're moving and everything.
Right, I apologise, everyone. Hey, what I'll do is in the actual video that will be up on YouTube, I'll cut the first bit out because you can go back in and edit it. Just to, this is the first time I've streamed from my workshop with my new Wi-Fi, and it's raining out. It's really windy, and that seems to have blown it all out. So I'm now connected onto my phone with the hotspot. But we're back. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies. Did you all drop out then, or were you able to carry on a bit until I?
We were chatting, and then like we'd come out, like drop off for a second, then yeah, a little back and forth.
Yeah.
Joys. There's only a certain amount of times I can say it's inexperience, but I'm going to blame the new computer. So, yeah.
You should. Yeah.
And the being 3 a.m. So anyway, Andrew, I was about to ask you, or maybe I did ask you, I think, did your guitar building or your work in lutherie begin before you went onto all these forums, or was the forums the way you?
Yeah, so I got started. It probably, I want to say like 2002. I was in high school, and in woodshop, and I was a guitar playing guy. I wanted to, see what I could. I was really into music. I still am, obviously. But I got into woodshop and started just making general woodshop stuff. Your little birdhouses and cutting boards and boring stuff. And then I had a kind of experience isn't the right word, but I managed to see a Carl Thompson bass like at a local shop that was in for repair. And that was the first time I had really seen a real handcrafted boutique instrument. I was like, oh, these things are just made out of wood. I can do that, being, me being 15, yeah, totally. So I went to my local library. I mean, this was kind of pre YouTube and all that fun stuff. And I got the Melvin Hiscock, build your own electric guitar book and brought it into, woodshop. I was like, hey, I'm doing this now. This is my project. And my teacher was cool enough to say, hey, sure, bring in all the parts. I don't know what you're doing, but just don't lose any fingers. All right. So I built my first total pile of crap Telecaster. It was rough, man. But from there I built just a bunch of different bodies and kind of necks, and ended up kind of getting more into building kits and doing setups and figuring out how to do fretwork and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, it was a couple years after high school. I was in the Army for 7 years. So I've just traveled all over the States doing Army stuff, and obviously I wasn't building guitars during that time. But so my last year when I was in, I decided like, hey, I've got, my schedule's weird. Like I worked this like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. like, or vice versa, like day shift or night shift kind of thing. And so I got like a little folding, like Craftsman, like, workmate, like the little folding workbench and a bunch of chisels and hand planes and coping saws and all that jazz. And I started building again, like on my little folding workbench in my 1-bedroom apartment in Maryland. Like, just like drive my wife crazy. Like, I can go and spend $200 on this like hand plane. I was like, yeah, I did. Like, I was excited to get back into it,
So is that get back into just general woodwork or specifically the guitars?
Specifically guitars, yeah. I mean, I like doing like sculpture and kind of more artsy carving stuff, with wood. But I was never like, I'm never gonna build a chair, man. Like that's just not my jam. So, I got started on, kind of get myself back into that. Ended up post Army going to Musicians Institute to the Guitar Craft program. I was able to use my GI benefits. And I did that for about a year until I ran out of class time there. And then ended up moving back to my hometown and back in Florida. I rented a workshop and started collecting tools and trying to build and repair full time, man. Like it was it's been a weird ride, but like ended up with me working at Fender. So it's pretty good.
Well, before we jump into the Fender thing, I definitely remember what it was like pre-internet trying to do things. So that's quite amazing that you went to library and sort of self-taught yourself. Were you including in your woodshop lessons doing things like making the neck and getting fret wire and things?
Yeah, I figured it all out just reading I had the Hiscock book. I think I had the Cumpiano, like the big acoustic book, but I wasn't still not brave enough to delve into building an acoustic guitar yet. But yeah, I followed the book and, just sat on StuMac's website and like, all right, well, it says I need all this stuff. So I just kind of went for it.
Right, because that's one of the things I was going to get to. Because now we're so saturated with information online of how to build things, I wasn't really sure where you could get the stuff. So I wasn't really aware of the history of StuMac that had been around.
Oh, they've been around for a million years. Yeah.
Right. Oh, fantastic. So when you're building your Telecaster and then going on, are you basically building designs of guitars that exist, or are you going in quite early with your own body shapes and things like that?
I was mainly I guess successful projects you would call them, back then, we're just straight up like, hey, I'm building a Tele, I'm building a Strat, something I can easily get templates for or stuff like that, right? Because at that point I didn't really have a grasp on kind of the like design fundamentals. Whereas like, hey, this is how you lay out, your string spacing or where your tuners are going to go, or, what have you. So my first few designs that I, hand drafted, were just like, oh, this isn't actually going to work. Like once I got far enough into it, it's like, oh, these tuners are going to just like pop off the end of the headstock. I made them like a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Like, just stuff you do as a 16-year-old bandsawing away. But yeah, so I after the first few non-functional prototypes, I really stuck with like, I'm gonna follow designs that I can get and like try to learn more.
See, it's refreshing to hear that stuff because all right, when I first started, oh my god, and I've just recently the very beginning hit 10 years ago because Facebook started showing me memories of my horrific starting beginnings. But what bothered me was at the time there wasn't much on YouTube to watch, but what little there was, you kept running across these videos of, this was my first build ever and it turned out perfect, and I'm like, bullshit, it did.
You're a liar.
Yeah, well, see, that was one of my motivations to get on YouTube, was to try to be honest about the process because, oh my god, so every time I hear somebody that talks about their first builds being absolute garbage, it's refreshing because, and it disgusts me when I see people do their first build. They say first build. I don't know, but it seems to turn out fairly decent, and mine were absolute garbage.
I've seen it kind of both ways, because I've seen guys that are like otherwise like really proficient woodworkers. Like, I used to teach kind of on the side at the Florida School of Woodwork, just doing like their like intro to woodworking, like safety classes, like how not to remove your fingers, that kind of thing. And and we had several guest instructors that would come in, and this guy is like a magnificent like chair builder, like. And he's and we'd get to chat and like, oh yeah, I build guitars, whatever. I mean, I'd get like pictures like, hey, I built this, and it's like this beautiful like knotty pine Telecaster. It's like, yeah, but I never built another one. It's like, okay, well, I assume that you did it because you know how to use all this stuff. But I think a lot of people like delve into guitar making as like their first intro to woodworking, also, which I did. And I think that's where the like you see the stuff that's just like all rough.
Yeah. Well, also I do know from personal experience that you can make something that looks nice, and especially looks nice on camera.
Oh sure.
Where you can hide all the layering issues.
It's all about the angles. Yeah.
So every time I saw one of those first ones, I really kind of wondered, but I mean, I know, Lord, I've built 30 actual electric guitars at this point, and just in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 that I've really genuinely started to feel confident in the quality. And so it's important to me, the people that are starting out. Building has been such a cathartic thing for me that every time I see somebody that does start building, I've always wanted to, I don't know what the word is, encourage and foster that creativity, that creative outlet. So a lot of that, I think, comes down to realistic expectations. I've been working in software for 30 years, and dealing with clients that have no idea what they're asking for. The only way that you don't wind up in a bloodbath is realistic expectations.
Sure.
But once we got into building, I noticed with new builders, like there's a guy that wanted me to teach him to build, and just like everybody else, I want, a 7-string thingy with, the Jimmy Page wiring, and I mean, every little whistle you could possibly imagine, and a kill switch, and I'm like, settle down. You gotta, temper your expectations. They're not going to be your dream guitar. You're going to have to ease into this, but I mean, that's a human problem. Everybody has that issue.
Yeah, for sure.
One sad thing I notice is when you, on certain forums anyway, Facebook in particular, you have these people that do their first builds that are actually pretty good, or maybe not even their first build, they're on their second or third builds, and they're pretty good, and you can see their kind of development is excellent, but there's quite often a lot of negativity, and people very quick to jump in and point out the issues, like you're talking about the headstock and the tuners being slightly wrong, and I don't know, the way it's phrased sometimes. I've seen with a couple of people recently that I've met online through guitar building, them being really put off of, or at least sharing their work, and in some cases not building because of that, which is a big shame, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of that stuff. I mean, only online, really, because no one's going to come into your shop and be like, to your face, like, oh wow, look at this pile of crap, right? Like, I mean, hopefully, God, but that is a uniquely online problem. Just like, I mean, one of the big fights that kind of broke out on 7-string one time, was some guy went to some smaller builder's booth at NAMM. This was several years ago, and there was it looked like, just from the photos, it looked like just like leftover like buffer land on the edges of the frets or something. Like, hey, everyone at NAMM is in a mad rush to get 20 guitars done, like to show off, like, okay, this one didn't get fully cleaned off, big deal. But like there was just this like massive like kerfuffle over this whole thing. Like, I can't believe the garbage quality on this guy's stuff, and it's like, whoa, like this is not like, that is not a quality indicator. Like, it's 10 seconds with a cloth, man. Like, chill out. Like, people just so ready to rage.
We've talked some about, but I don't know. Our experience may be a little different, but YouTube community has been really positive and constructive. Facebook, I haven't had a lot of experience with Facebook, but they tend to, in my experience, seem to tend to be extremely toxic, where every other community I've seen, I mean, Instagram, YouTube, it's really rare you get people that are really negative. And that, like I said, for me, building was always a cathartic thing. So to see somebody crap on somebody's build is just, it really gets to me. You can see what level this guy's at, and you also know, if you're past his level, what journey he's on. You don't want to discourage that. You don't want to be negative. Facebook just tends to be the ultimate keyboard warrior spot. Yeah. So I've kind of shied away from it in recent years, just because I don't know. I'm creating for other things, and Facebook is just kind of an ancillary thing. Yeah. I used to be on Project Electric Guitar quite a bit.
Okay, yeah.
But I liked that group, and I forget the dude's name that runs it, but
is that Carl? Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the other groups, I haven't really spent a lot of time there. It just, for whatever reason, it just seems to be different. That those communities seem to be different than other online places.
I think because it's like they were set up like specifically for like kind of like the weirdo enthusiasts, and we're all, usually people are like interested in like just talking to each other about this stuff, like at any level, like.
Yeah.
And I think there's just like with Facebook, there's no bar to entry. So you wouldn't have to go, you don't have to go sneak it out on Facebook. Like, you can just be there and, be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely valid point there.
Sorry.
Facebook's full of everyone.
Which, I mean, is not necessarily a bad thing, but like, if I want to talk to a bunch of, guitar nerds like myself, like I want my own little spot.
Yeah. Some of the smartest people I've ever seen have been in the 7-string forum. Like, there are some brilliant people on that forum.
Mm-hmm. That one I kind of tend to stay away from. But just because I've seen some silly nonsense on that forum specifically. But I mean, I know it happens everywhere, so I can't unfairly pin that solely on 7-string.
It's funny you mention that, because this is one of those hobbies where you almost never run into somebody you can actually talk shop with.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are into guitar a little bit, but we've talked a lot about the fact that guitar people don't necessarily know much about their instrument.
Yeah.
When it comes to the nuts and bolts of how this thing actually functions, they've got their opinions on what they like, but it doesn't really translate to talking shop on this level.
Yeah, and there's so much like misinformation out there as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So anyone that's in the chat, because some people are already asking about your future career, which we haven't got to in the history of Andrew. I do want to just stick on the forums just for 1 minute, not necessarily negativity, but if you were on those forums for so long, are you still actively a member of a lot of them?
I mean, I'm sure my profile still exists, but I think okay. So anyone who's a longtime forum guy will remember the kind of like big like photo bucket debacle that happened. Like, oh god, I don't know how long ago this was now, but at some point, because everyone was using PhotoBucket to host all their like build progress photos, right? And it was like super easy and convenient to like just load up your thread with like some quick links. But then PhotoBucket, I guess it was free also. They decided like, hey, give us $500 or all your, and they broke all the links just overnight. Like, so we're going to charge you to host your photos. Like, and you need to pay us $500 right now. Like, and like this went on like for everybody, like who hosted photos on these forums. So every big thread with like just so much valuable build process information, just like overnight dead, like every photo broken. So they kind of like did this, like, we're holding all your stuff for holding all your photos hostage. And I just refused to pay. Like I would have, you know, paid a reasonable monthly fee, but like I didn't, you know, hey, I'm not gonna play this game, like, because it's only gonna get worse if we, you know, let it go. So
it's almost like hackers have hacked them and are blackmailing them or bribing them. But yeah,
they got hacked by their CEO wanting more cash, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I stopped, like, which is, you know, maybe not the best reason to stop doing it, but as soon as it became, you know, like it became really difficult to like get on and engage, and everyone was just like, it was just like everyone was talking about this. It's like I can't like just hang out with all this, like just everyone being angry all the time. So I just kind of turned around and focused on my own stuff.
So with your own stuff, one of the questions in the chat was about your move into Fender and Jackson. When you were telling us that you'd done a bit of woodworking teaching, and then you ended up in Fender. What was the Fender move?
Okay, so this is, I mean, more long story time, I guess. So post Army, I went to the University of Tampa also on GI Bill. So I was getting my BFA in sculpture. You know, because I had free college, and I was like, I'm gonna go be an art kid after 7 years in the Army, like, you know.
What was your medium?
I'm sorry?
What was your medium?
Mostly wood. So I wiggled my way. The guy that managed the wood shop there, or the sculpture room, like all of my teachers were like, hey, if this is like the thing that you like to do, like do this, but work it into like whatever projects I have to have you do. And so the guy at the wood shop there, I mean, I actually ended up teaching him how to build guitars. Like, so like, I mean, he's started his own company back in Tampa. Like I sold him all my equipment when I moved here. So I was doing that at the University of Tampa, teaching at the Florida School of Woodwork, and also helping at the University wood shop just in my off time, because I was just like, you know, just trying to make money to support my guitar building habit. You know, I had my workshop, just a decent sized space with my equipment. You know, ended up just building and repairing just as an indie little shop there for a few years. And then I ended up getting a degree in, excuse me, a bunch of certificates in like SolidWorks, like 3D CAD, drafting, stuff like that. And I'd been teaching myself 3D modeling for a long time as well. And, you know, then ended up in a job at a plastics manufacturing place, just making like conveyor belt chain tracks and just all sorts of the guts of machines that you'd see on How It's Made, you know, just like nothing cool or sexy, but it's stuff that's got to get built. And I was at that place for about 4 years. And then just ended up kind of, you know, searching around on Indeed and be like, you know, I gotta do something more creative. I'm kind of like, I don't know how many conveyor belt chain tracks I can draw, you know? And just happened to pull up like, first I actually applied at Ernie Ball, just because they popped up. I was like, all right, you know, why not? Like, let's see what happens. And, you know, I got an interview. You know, I sent in like, I had like, you know, my portfolio and all this stuff, and had a decent interview with the guy, but they decided to not move forward. So, but that kind of planted the seed, like, why don't I go apply at some other guitar companies? Like I should be, maybe I can do this like legitimately professionally. Not that owning your own business isn't legitimately professional, but you get what I'm saying. It'd be nice to actually get paid to build guitars. So I applied at Fender. It was specifically for Jackson Charvel. And it was like 6 interviews over 3 months. Like it was a full process. But got the gig, man.
And was that for CAD work?
Yeah. So my actual title is senior design engineer. So I do SolidWorks 3D modeling. So it's 3D models, the actual technical drawings, like 2D work. So I'm preparing 3D models for mass production at the factory, either in Corona or Ensenada or any of our OEM, like overseas Asian factories, stuff like that.
But you were self-taught?
I started off I downloaded, I picked up AutoCAD in high school. So I've been doing AutoCAD for a long time. So that's what I drew all of my original old stuff on. And then I got on Fusion 360 when it was like new. And I still use it today, like for my own stuff, just because it's a ridiculously great solution for anyone that's not a major company. And then I went to school and picked up SolidWorks. I've got all my certs and all that stuff, and just kind of went for it.
So as someone that doesn't really know all of this, is SolidWorks kind of the industry standard that you'd expect big companies to be using? Yeah,
so SolidWorks is kind of like the industry standard, like solid 3D modeling, parametric, like 3D software. If you'd step into like the automotive or like aerospace kind of design spaces, there's kind of like bigger, more complex programs that you'd see people use, but probably, better than a 50-50 shot. If you're talking to a major company that's using 3D CAD, it's SolidWorks.
Right.
But Fusion 360 would translate, at least a certain amount?
Yeah, a lot of the concepts are the same. It's just the kind of the UI and the way that it works is very different. But you still understand how the history works and your parametric features, so all that the concepts are there. The way it wants to be talked to is differently, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. I've tried a little bit with Fusion 360 with zero CAD experience, zero 3D modeling experience, trying to just suss out the fundamental concepts. It's been a while since I put a little time to it, but it's something I want to learn, but it's difficult to learn.
I would not feel like Fusion is a little less user friendly to me than SolidWorks is. It's not as forgiving. Like if you're trying to do something, SolidWorks is usually pretty good about like, hey, if I'm drawing this shape, like this is kind of what I'm going for. It's really good about figuring out like, oh, okay, I know what you're doing. Like chill out. But you can actually check out SolidWorks for Makers if you want to like get into that world. It's $100 for a year license. I'm not sponsored by Dezo, by the way. But it's $100 for a year license, and it's full SolidWorks professional. You just have to be connected to their server while you're using it, and it's meant for educational or home hobby use. So it's pretty rad. And there's a million free courses online for SolidWorks too. Like,
interesting.
So the job we're just talking about, is that very recently, or have you been there a little while now?
I'm coming up on 3 years at Fender.
Fantastic. So that must be quite a dream job, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's wild. I would have never honestly expected to end up where I am, because who does? Like, it's. I can't say anything other than it's a total dream job to have. Like, I'm incredibly lucky. Like,
is there working for a company like that? Is there a conflict of interest with you building your own custom guitars? Is there any type of issue with that?
So So I mean, I actually talked about that in my interview, like initially, like, and you know, at the point that I was interviewing, I had kind of like burnt myself out on my own building, just you know, through a string of like COVID happened, like I had a couple like particularly gnarly clients, like, so I build my own, like I'll put my own logo on something that I design, like if I just build it like on the side, like, but I'm not doing any commercial like commission work anymore. Just to like, you know, I would never try to do something shady like, oh, hey, you know, whatever person I have access to now, like, hey, buy my stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to do that. Like, and I don't want there to ever be the like appearance that I could do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just I meant from like a company perspective, because I work for a company that would not allow me to build like an app, for example, or a piece of software. I'm not allowed.
Okay.
Scott, you might have something similar with your company, perhaps, but there are definitely like conflicts of interest to think about. I was just wondering if Fender has something similar, like you're not allowed to build custom guitars.
No, it's nothing like that. Like there was no like piece of paper I signed that like you cannot build guitars. Like it's more of like kind of, I guess, a gentleman's agreement. Like, say, hey, don't do something stupid. Like, you know, and honestly, like, you know, as your like day job, like I see so many guitars, man. Like I usually don't want to come home and build more, like, which, you know, for better or worse, like there is that.
Yeah,
So-
I can see the point. I go through cycles in software. There are times when I really want to work on personal projects at home, and there's a lot of times when you do enough of that at work and don't want to. I would be afraid of that with building, because, like I said, for building for me is more just hobby. And I mean, I spent about 3 seconds entertaining the idea of trying to make a business out of it before I realized that. I mean, it would be near impossible, especially for me.
It's tough, man.
I mean, it's taken me a decade to get to where I feel like maybe I'm making something that isn't trash. I mean, it's just that dynamic alone. But to try to pump out a unit and deal with customers and have enough customers, the stress of having a 2-year backlog would drive me insane.
That's it's.
So I can definitely see. For me personally, I like it as a hobby. If I was doing it work, I probably wouldn't want to do a lot at home. Maybe a little, but it'd be sparse and it'd be different.
Well, so kind of the fun thing is though, so I am currently building 2 like different bass guitars for myself, like just for funsies. So I'm building just a regular 4-string, like just to jam around on. But I'm also building a short scale 6-string, like, and it's, they're going to get my logo. They're my designs. They have nothing to do with Fender or Jackson or, any of that umbrella.
Sure.
And, so when I have the, like, I guess the spark, it's like, oh, I got to go be creative. Like I'll go hang out at the shop and like, all right, I feel like sanding today, here we go.
I was going to ask about that because clearly you had that real enthusiasm for woodwork, talking about the tools you bought as well, but also you've also taught yourself CAD and all those design softwares and then gone and studied them. So you've got an enthusiasm there as well. And I was wondering, do you miss the woodworking much?
Sometimes. So, I mean, I got myself into CNC really early too. That was kind of the wanting to do that is kind of what sparked me to get into 3D modeling.
Right.
So, I mean, my last home wood shop, it's in storage now, but I have a pretty big honking CNC. And that was like, it's just a tool, right? Like if I can keep my fingers out of the way during like all the just bulk wood removal, like great. Like all the real, I mean, to me, like all the real magic is in the detail, like carving and stuff. Like it's not any, my guitar cut out on CNC is not any worse than if I had cut it with a pattern bit on a router. It's still the same thing. It's just my hands are 10 feet away.
Yeah.
Well, I think early on those things are a big milestone for people, and they're I'm super proud about making this thing that just it's a shape. You tend to and they're proud of it. Yeah, the details. Yeah.
I remember very early on, one of our guests was someone called Gordon from Phase of Alcon Guitars. But it's just like hobby builder. But one of the things that he seemed most passionate about was the design element and trying to get the designs work right, and how he talked about how each of his designs had evolved from the last one. So, I mean, he was definitely into the making, but it was the design that I remember the most about his. So what's interesting about guitar building is we can often have a guest on, and although some of the questions might be the same, there might be a different element of it that infuses them in different ways.
Sure. I mean, and I really identify with the design being a major factor as well. Because I mean, like this green guy here, mirrored, like that's kind of like one of my major or main shapes that I used to build a lot. And that's like evolved so much over the years. Like the first few versions were like, kind of weird and spindly, like this 8-string, like that's a little too thin, but huh? Oh, the green one, like, well, and I've actually even moved away from this shape because I realized I just made a JS with corners. So I was like,
There's something about those lower horns though, like the one on the Telecaster behind you as well, which I'm imagining is your style, or when you look at the designs you've made, that must be a common thing.
It always ends up in there somewhere, so I've just kind of embraced it. I mean, and it's a lot of stuff too. Like, I mean, I always do a 3-bolt neck. Like, just it's I've kind of settled on common elements that I like. That I've ended up just repeating, which I mean, we all do, sure.
Yeah,
we've missed out of your story then, Knightro Guitars and how that fits in. So you're implying you've had quite a long period before being at Fender where you were making for customers.
Yeah. So I was a full custom builder, and and repairs as well. Just because you gotta, get paid somehow too. I mean, I was a full-on custom builder for probably 7 or 8 years, like before I ended up getting the Fender gig.
And was that mainly on commission or designs that you made?
So full commission builds. I never delved into selling designs or anything like that. Just because, if something out there looks like something I did, I want it to have been by me. Just maybe somewhat selfishly, but as a designer, you kind of put your heart into this thing. It's like, I don't want someone else to build it.
Yeah, because I've just got to a point myself where this year so far I've avoided any commissions because I wanted to build my own things to then try and sell. And what I realized is that's not really working because I've spent so much on materials, so much time building. And I've made the mistake of working on so many things at once that they're all about to come to completion, but I've got no income until they sell. And
I've
the commission
absolutely fallen into that trap. Yeah.
So I do hope it will turn around for me and these will sell when they're done. But
I hope so too. I mean, and that's like, and like people who are looking to buy a guitar, like aren't looking for. They're not going to look at your pictures if it's not a full done guitar.
Yeah.
Like it just,
I mean, for me, the thing I love about commissions is a lot of what I do is either customizing a guitar or building something that's quite strange. So someone might send me a guitar and say, I want it completely changed. But I love the way this guitar plays, but can you change it? And I've had one customer that I've made 4 guitars for him now. And the last one, he sent me it was a Jackson Dinky, and he wanted it changed. He loved it, but he wanted it to look more, he's in a very Iron Maiden-esque heavy metal band. A lot of their songs are about demons and Vikings and all these sort of narrative-based songs. So he wanted a guitar that looked like that. And we did so much to the guitar that I might as well have just built a new guitar. I carved into the body. We ended up taking the fretboard off. It was it was a bit pointless in the end.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a
but
lot.
The point
man.
was, it just it evolved quite a bit, and the commission I've just taken on is someone that's got an idea in mind, and it's all about the shape and the look, and I'm just helping them realize something they can't build. And that's what I've realized I enjoy, is helping someone who can't create but has an idea realize what their idea is and put things together.
That's really cool. So you're doing like full custom like shapes all the time, like different stuff? Because I mean, I kind of approached it more like, these are the models that you can pick from. Like, do you want a 6, 7, or 8 string? Like, you know.
Annoyingly, the only thing I have here is this, which isn't really my design. I made for someone else on a design that existed. I don't know if you... Oh, wait a minute, it's upside down. There we go. So it was the logo of their band. But
that's wild, man.
But a lot of the things are, the guitar will come in and they want it sculpted, so it looks like it's got skulls in it, or
that's cool.
At the moment, the ones I'm doing they're not out. Oh, I'm knocking everything down. But I've got a ukulele, that kind of, so it looks like a bit of a spaceship. I don't know how well that shows up. But anyway, yeah, so it's not like a design thing, because I feel like there's quite a lot of people out there that make amazing bespoke guitars, who maybe have a real knowledge and passion of the wood and how to use it that's better than mine is. So what I want to bring to it is my background as an artist and making something a bit different. And that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, because you were talking about studying sculpture, is how you feel that first of all, I don't know what studying sculpture in America is like, but one of the things about studying art in UK is a lot of it is not about making. It's about concepts and understanding a way of thinking that's maybe more critical than you might have had if you were just come out of school. And I wondered if part of your art kind of background relates over to your building, relates over to your current job.
I mean, I think so in some ways. So with my education in sculpture, there was actually a pretty decent balance between conceptual and actual like hands-on work. I really enjoyed my sculpture teacher was this Bahamian woman, and she was just like a blast every day, like to get in there in the studio and like, it's like, hey, what are you making today? Like, you know, she would roll in like 20 minutes late. Like she just lived on island time, you know, like, but it's like, hey, I'm bringing in this like life-size, like gorilla skull. We're making a copy of this out of clay. Get out your tools. Let's go. It's like, well, all right. So, I mean, I had just like a really interesting mix of like wicked cool professors, like, you know, on both the kind of like history academic side and the real making side. And I was really lucky to meet all these people. Like, it was really cool.
See, when I started college, for at least 2 years, I was an art student, and you know they wanted us to get experience in all of these different mediums, from lithography to sculpture. Sculpture, I got in a little late, and it was like one project, and it was the one thing I got the least exposure to, and I was always interested in it, and I never got a whole lot of, I got next to no formal training, but it has always been interesting to me, and I find myself with a guitar thinking you're kind of limited, and it's almost 2D, you know?
I think, I mean, I understand where you're going. That's kind of been one of the interesting things about it to me is, you know, the neck, like the chord geometry always has to be correct and mathematically precise, right? Like, but outside of that, like, I kind of have free reign, like with what I can do, you know, within the bounds of what someone is likely to buy, you know, if that's your goal.
Which does limit you to about 1 3/4 inches. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, in many ways you're right, Scott. I see that too. In many ways, we still think in 2D. Like a lot of guitar design is still like just holes inside a flat plane of wood or cutouts there's really not a lot of three-dimensionality. I mean, there's certainly some ergonomic guitars out there, but they're not really pushing the 3D boundaries.
Yeah, it's more negative space than anything.
Yeah.
So
When you look online at shop,
that's a lot of like I made this like it's fully like aerofoil like anyway. So I mean that's kind of like where I've played with kind of sculpture is like making something a bit more, I don't know, maybe visually interesting to me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's something that when you look online to buy a guitar, you almost always see a photo of the front and a photo of the back, maybe a photo of the headstock. But you don't get those interesting angles that reveal those sort of things that I see much more of with bespoke builders who are obviously, if you're hand carving or shaping something like that, you want to show it off in your photos. And you see it more, and I find that more interesting. Not that I've played a lot of guitars that shape to notice does it really make much difference, but it visually makes difference aesthetically, and to me that makes a massive difference because I feel like if you're playing a guitar that looks cool, you're going to have a slightly different attitude some of the times when you're playing it.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Like, I mean, realistically, when you pick up that green guitar and like just are playing it, it just feels like any guitar with a belly cut and an arm contour. Like, just your forearm and ribs aren't like that sensitive. Like, but like, it feels cool. Like, it looks cool, so I feel cool. Like, so it's like, all right, there we go. Like, it's it's just kind of the mojo. And a lot of times, like. This is kind of something I've had to learn in switching my design ideas to kind of the production mode. Because I mean, like in Fender world, we're talking like 15 units per day, like of a guitar. Like, so it's a lot. So these things have to be like real quick and easy to build. So, like if you think about like a Stratocaster or a Telecaster, like they're pumping out like 25, 30 a day. Like, and that's why everything's flat, right? Because like you can just get it on a CNC, blast it out, and be done. And even some of the stuff that we've done with Jackson stuff, like so, there's more. There's kind of more on here than you'd really see in a typical Fender product. Like, there's a lot more carving and sanding, and this is a lot sharper and more precise than a lot of stuff you'd see. At least coming from main Fender at Corona.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool to learn kind of that design principle and to figure out like, where can I push? Like how can we do something like really cool that no one's gonna like have thought of would come from here? Like, and that's been fun.
So on a design question there, is there more scope for that design when you're working on the Jacksons? But is there a scope for that guitar to then be more expensive if it takes longer and is more complicated to build?
Sure. Yeah. So, and that's another big part of the balance is like, hey, I know the price point that my marketing people like want me to be at, right? Like, so how do we make sure that this takes no longer than X amount of hours to build and costs X amount in materials? And that's another just big part of the balance of like when you start talking about like industrial design, is like not just like what's the coolest thing I can make. It's like how can I get some stranger in a factory who may or may not actually care about guitars to build this correctly every time at the right price, which maybe isn't that interesting to a lot of people, but it's been, it's such a drastic shift in how you think from being just a boutique builder. But I found it really interesting. And you have a bit more leeway with Jackson stuff because it's not the same price as like just an American Strat. You can go on the Jackson website and see like what the American series stuff is costing. And it's a premium product. Like these things I think they're nice as hell, but I'm also a little biased.
Last weekend, I found myself in Guitar Center, which I don't do often, but I was looking at the amps, and everything hanging on the wall that was interesting was Jackson.
Our design and product team, these guys are like sharp, like real good dudes. And I've had a real good time just picking up everything from these guys. Like everyone else has been there for 10 plus years. So I'm the newbie. Yeah, I mean, we work really hard to get everything like as like sharp as we can.
I mean, from shape to wood choice to finish to size. I mean, everything that was interesting to me as a builder was pretty much Jackson, which actually kind of surprised me, but then again, kind of not.
Same here. I gotta tell you my Jackson story. Like, I played, in the late '80s and early '90s, Ibanez, because that was cool. Never touched a Jackson. I thought they were a little bit too pointy, too metal.
Yeah, sure.
So didn't touch them. And just recently, in the last month, I picked up a used Jackson on eBay, and it was like, oh my God, Jackson, where you been all my whole life? Like, it's not just like the feel and the sound, but there is an iconicism. Like, they are iconic.
Yeah.
You look at the Jackson headstock, you look at the Jackson shape, and it's like, you can't, all these boutique builders, they're building great things, but you can't build iconicism unless you have heritage.
Right.
And so that's one of the things about Jackson that I'm really getting into now, is that heritage and that iconic look.
Yeah.
Plus, they feel great.
And generally, it's hard to get that outside of Fender, Gibson, but I mean, there are a few companies that are kind of out. They're kind of getting up there, and Jackson's definitely one of them.
It's been really. So one of my favorite things about this job, honestly, is we have our office, right? So where just all the office stuff happens, but we also have a little satellite R&D wood shop, and that is where Mike Shannon works there. So I mean, as a builder, I'm sure you're aware of Mike Shannon, and he's the original. He is the original master builder for Jackson. Still here, 40 years. And I, getting to hang out and work with him is just like, it's just knowledge, just like dumps out of this guy. Like, and he's just so like casual about it. Like, he doesn't even he has zero like hero rock star like complex about it. He's a woodworker. Like, he's like any dude you'd meet down at the lumber yard. Like, but just like going there and like, because I'm some projects I'm working on. It's like, hey, I'm trying to figure out this historical detail, like, of why this was done this way back in like 1983 or whatever. And sometimes it's like sometimes it's an answer like, yeah, this is why I did it. And sometimes it's a really just like silly answer. Like, it's like, I picked a nice, easy to remember number so I could set up the machine the same every time. Like, I don't know, man. Like, and that's like,
green M&Ms.
Yeah, so it has been just like, I mean, again, I'm incredibly lucky to have the opportunity to work with this guy. Like, I mean, God, just the amount of like pure guitar knowledge this guy has, like, and watching him work too, like, is just like, he can shape a neck in, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, like from like a block of wood to ready to finish sand neck. It's crazy. Like,
there's a lot of books that I've read or got which like the history of Fender, history of the Strat, but none of them include those details like I set the machine because it was an easy number to remember. And they're the cool sort of stories that make the guitars, to me, come to life, especially a big factory built guitar, to know that there is a person behind it in that way.
Yeah, it's and he saves all the old, he's still got all the old original catalogs and stuff, like, just from back in the day. Like, he's just got like, big like tote bins full of just all his old stuff. Like, and he'll just bring it in every once in a while, like in like photo albums, like, oh, here's me and Grover, and like, he's just taking out all these old photo albums and old catalogs and just like all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, this is wild. Like, I wish there was like a way to like kind of bring other people in to like see that kind of stuff, because it's like, it's fascinating for anybody who's into guitars in general, not just into the Jackson brand. Yeah, it's so cool.
Sweet baby Jesus, please don't watch my last video.
Oh. Now I got to know what's up with the video.
I was talking about Fender.
Hey, I'm not gonna get offended.
The fact that it seems like a lot of the design decisions were basically for the ease of manufacturing.
For Fender, absolutely. Leo Fender was not a guitar player.
Right.
He was figuring out hey, electric guitars are popular. How can I build a bajillion of them as quickly, easily, and cheaply as possible? And that's it. You're not wrong.
Clearly, Les Paul had the back of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's
the thing that we talk about a lot is the technology for making and designing, and the accessibility to woods and materials has changed so much over time. Yet guitarists still fixate on those original designs.
Yeah.
And one thing I really want to get into with you, or this couple now, is you were talking about pushing the design and how you can get further with it. And I definitely want to talk about how you push designs, but I just want to get back to, do you think in a company like yours now, with the way the company works, there's still room for sort of personality to come in and help evolve the designs that in the future would say, oh yeah, I remember I'm now working with Andrew Knight and he's a fountain of knowledge. He's been 30 years or whatever. That kind of thing.
I would hesitate to put myself in that space just because.
No,
I take your point. Yeah. I think there is a lot of stuff that, maybe kind of less so on the Fender side, because we're kind of separate. We're part of the company, but we're not in it.
I was oblivious to that fact. I had no idea.
Yes, yeah,
so since 2003, I believe. Yeah.
20 damn years. Wow.
Yeah. So, with Fender specifically, it's kind of really just banking on the heritage stuff, because that's what sells. I want my 57 Strat, I want my 64 Strat, and that's just kind of what people go for. So they're maybe a little stuck doing that. And I got to disclaim all opinions are my own, blah 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 blah. Not affiliated with whatever. But that's why they sell this stuff, because that's what is continually gonna sell. And it's honestly hard to I have 3 of my own Strats. It's a great guitar. What are you gonna do? If I'm gonna just pick up and kind of noodle around, chances are I'm grabbing one of my Strats, because it just feels good, works good, But on our side, the kind of the specialty side, there's a lot more room for trying something weird. And that's how Jackson got started. Hey, I want 24 frets. Hey, make me that's how the Rhodes happened. Make me something pointy and crazy. Paraphrasing, but that's where Jackson and Charvel started. Is hey, I have this guitar, but I want something more. And that's kind of just been the history of the brand.
So how does your role and your team's role work? Is it that there's someone that says we need a new variation of this guitar, or are they coming to you and saying we want a whole new design, or is it all driven by your own team?
So a lot of it is, there's kind of an interesting mixture of all 3. So a lot of it in kind of general stuff that you're going to see out in stores. A lot of it's just driven by our product and marketing guys. Hey, we're seeing a demand for whatever. And so, hey, so they'll come with like spec sheets and like just like little like pre-done renders. Like, hey, we want to kind of go like we want to do something like this. Like, so let's see a 3D model and get it quoted out at this factory and see what that looks like in real life. Or so that's kind of like the bread and butter of it. Is it's all product and marketing guys, because they're the guys like out there with access to the research and data. Like, what can we sell all the time? Some of the stuff that we do at the R&D shop is a lot of this. What we do is kind of like one-off artist stuff, and that's where I get like really excited because I mean I've been really lucky to be a part of several really cool projects just for artists. Like, are you guys like Sleep Token fans? Like, or have heard of Sleep Token maybe? So, okay, well, they're just massive, crazy, huge metal band right now. I did the design and a lot of the machining for 2 custom guitars and a custom bass for them. Like, there was on stage at Wembley, like in December. Like, a piece of like, and on those 2 guitars, like, we had been searching for Pale Moon Ebony that was big enough for these guitars because he's got a 30-inch scale 6-string and an 8-string guitar that's 28-inch scale. So these are massive fretboards. But dude wanted matching Pale Moon Ebony for both of these guitars. Like, and I just happened to have a slab in my private stock for, years. I was like, hey, like, I will donate this. However, I'm trading for something very cool. Like, that's how I ended up with that red guitar, actually. But so like, so I mean, like, that's probably that's one of the coolest things that I've done here. I think the
that's a
new
story.
guitars.
That's a story for the grandkids.
It's I am really proud of those.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And like, I only did the the kind of the design and rough machining, like, but hey, that's them.
This is them. Yeah.
So he's got a matching 30-inch scale 6-string that's like tuned like bass 6, like
amazing.
And
30-inch 6-strings is crazy.
Yeah, it's actually a really fun guitar to play. That's it right there. So I've got pictures with all their stuff before we sent it off to him in the UK, But
what gauge would you run that? What gauge of strings would you use?
Oh gosh, it's actually just a Fender bass 6 set. So like the old like 60s, like that was your bass guitar back like in the like surf rock days,
Okay, for bass, sure. Okay.
So it was like, oh god, I would have to look up the gauges honestly, because they're big. We actually, so on that guitar, because it's also an Evertune equipped guitar, so we had to work with Evertune. Like, hey, we have to have custom high tension modules to handle these strings because it's not designed for that, like just out of the box. And they were amazing to work with. Just like, hey, send us the scale length and the projected tension, and they like overnighted us like a custom Evertune. Like, it was, man, that whole project was nuts.
So for something like that, that's a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that you've as a company you've approached the band and said we want to work with you, or are they already playing Jackson guitars or sponsored by Jackson in some way, or how does the connection initiate?
So that's honestly a really good question, because like I don't have any direct contact with like the A&R guys,
right?
So by the time it gets to me, it's through like my like product manager guy, so yeah, it's very rare that I have any actual artist contact myself. But I would, I assume by the point they're getting a custom one-off, like with like all these like, design features that no one's here has done, they've got some sort of like relationship in the works. Yeah,
Right.
it's safe to assume.
Yeah. So this one-off for them might
Mhm.
end up being that they'll become an ambassador, or they might even have their own signature coming.
That is possible.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm looking for a trade hidden bit of information there, but no.
Hey, look, it's very, it's possible. What can I say?
I'm definitely going to check them out now. And are they a British band then?
They are, yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely check them out.
Yeah. So same. We've done projects for Spirit Box. They're also, I think he's UK based. And Bring Me the Horizon as well. Their new stuff that was done here in the Scottsdale Model Shop. That is correct. I cannot.
So look, before this show happened, Mark sent us a link, which unfortunately seems to only work in America. I'll put the link in the description later on to a YouTube clip, which was the history of Jackson Guitars. Is that right? Was it? History of Jackson
was a documentary on the original Charvel gang.
Okay.
It started in the late 70s. It was just a fascinating documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Super interesting to see like how Grover Jackson really just basically saturated that whole scene in California and just giving guitars to people, just giving them guitars, making them guitars, and just built a huge company just from that.
Yeah. It's I mean, and two of the guys I work with at the shop like have were there during the early Charvel days, like Mike and also a guy named John. He's who also worked at some of the other major companies for a long time. And just like hearing the old stories is just always just like I can't believe like you guys just were the guys that did all that. And it's just
but there was this one scene where like Grover Jackson was letting Alan Holdsworth just jam in the shop. Like Alan didn't even have a record label or anything like that. And just go ahead. And then it's Alan Holdsworth. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's wicked. I'll have to look that documentary up. I don't think I've actually seen it.
Yeah, it's really great. It came out about 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I think that's why we can't watch it in the UK, because there must be still some issues with it, because it looks like it until very recently was on Apple TV Plus, but it's not there now because I wanted to watch it before this. Because my knowledge of Jackson, like Scott, I had no idea they had a Fender connection, is just when I first got into realizing guitars had different designs that weren't Stratocasters. I was a Megadeth fan, and the Jackson V-shaped guitars were the thing that I wanted. I'd seen the BC Rich guitars, and I loved their sort of shapes, but they didn't seem quite as elegant. There was something about the Jackson ones where the design just looked like it was it was partly made for the looks, as opposed to just being someone saying, "Oh, we want a V shape," and someone that's maybe not an artist or as visually minded had made it. Because I really don't like the Gibson Flying V look.
No,
I've always found it looks. I found it looks like it's from the &60s. That's what my mind always said.
I mean, it is.
Whereas the Jackson ones always looked like they were from the future, and that's what I liked about them. That
was, I mean, one of the first like serious electric guitars I really wanted as a teen was a Rhodes. Like it had like the Erie Death swirl, the like the green to purple fade, right?
Oh, right.
And like that was like one of the things that really first caught my eye, like as a young guitar dude. I mean, I never got one, but just yeah, man. Yeah, gosh. I mean, still to this day, a lot of the made in Japan stuff is just like really good. Like that. Actually, this red Charvel, that's a made in Japan Charvel. It's really good.
See, and a lot of my problems and quirkiness probably stem from the fact that when I turned 13 was 1984. So the last half of the 80s and the 90s was nothing but pure hair metal. And so there weren't a whole lot of Les Pauls or Strats for that matter. it was a lot of more Jackson type stuff, which, and in my mind, the Jackson designs were close to traditional, but different enough to be different.
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
crazy weird. So yeah, that it's where my mind kind of gravitates design wise. And later in life, you get into blues and other things, and the more traditional guitars start to crop up. So my perspective, I think, is different from a lot of people. Weirdly enough.
It's I mean, that's kind of been one of the things. I mean, similarly, one of the things that's always really appealed to me about Jackson is it's it's got just enough edge where it's like, okay, I feel like this is like a cool thing, but it's not just like totally wacky.
Yeah.
It still looks like a nicely designed piece of equipment.
Right. Well, we've talked about how guitar people are weird, and the Strat in particular is a very, very iconic shape that it doesn't maybe do a fantastic job on ergonomics, but it made a big step in that direction where other designs hadn't at the time. And so a lot of the Jackson designs, in 80s to 90s, they kind of stuck to that aspect of the Strat while still, being a little more sharp cornered and a little more. They just seemed to fit the bands that were using them.
It's a bit more like sleek, like.
Yeah, so they kind of snuck in to. We've talked a lot about, that iconic shape between Les Paul, Strat, and Telly. Mm-hmm. There's so many people that are stuck on those three in particular. Sure. But you can kind of bend the Strat a little bit here and there and come up with something that's technically, unique, but still kind of has the big design features, the round butt, the waist, the horns. Mm-hmm. It seems like Jackson in particular, some of those earlier models in particular, really kind of stuck to the, I don't even know how to articulate that. Some of those design features that were iconic, yet updated just enough to look more modern.
Yeah.
I'm rambling.
So Mark says he has told us before he's a Strat guy, and you just said you played Ibanez a lot. Were you playing and I guess it's true with the Jackson, were you playing the kind of Strat style Ibanez? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I was a super Strats. So played super Strats in the punk days, hardcore days. I played in a couple of death metal bands too. So yeah, it was always super Strats, always with the Floyd. I was playing the RGs back in the day. I play Strats now pretty much exclusively, but then I picked up the Jackson, and now I bought two already. I have two Jacksons now because I'm just obsessed with them.
What is it about the Jackson then? What is it that is making you go to them now?
I think that's sleekness. You grab the neck, and the neck doesn't feel like any other guitar for sure.
It's a very flatter, specific shape. Yeah.
Yes, it's very specific. It doesn't feel like an Ibanez. Doesn't feel like a Strat. It's thin. I got small hands, but I love the thin necks. Big fat jumbo frets like that. Everything about it is just a new experience that's unlike a Strat, and that's why I'm kind of gravitating towards them.
So I'll tell you, maybe I don't know if it's a secret or not, but so that specific neck shape, we are still using the original machine, like the original shaper with that ground neck profile, bit, it's still at the R&D shop. So every guitar that Mike makes is still using that original machine. It's wild. And that's and that shape is hey, we've reverse engineered, so now we can build that shape in CAD, because it's a very specific kind of elliptical, way it all kind of comes together. But that's a big part of why these necks feel so good, because I'm normally not a super thin neck guy, Like my own stuff is like kind of chunky and asymmetrical. But Jackson necks just feel right. Like it's got just the right something about it, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. There's something about it. And again, it was the first time I played one just a couple of months ago. And it's a new experience. If you haven't picked one up, pick one up. Simple as that.
Yeah. So,
I was going to ask if they did anything asymmetrical.
Jackson, not at the moment for like nothing production wise anyway. You know, we've done sometimes, you know, there's like experiments or one-off stuff. Like I'm sure Custom Shop has done asymmetrical stuff. But it's all, you know, kind of following the DNA, you know.
Is the only company that's doing production stuff asymmetrical?
Who?
Strandberg?
You know, I mean, so the original, so EVH is also part of our little umbrella, right? So there are some EVH necks that are like that have a little bit of a something to them, but it's not something like I pushed my asymmetrical profiles pretty hard. It's nothing near like that.
Okay. I hadn't really thought about it, but I just in the last month or two got a Strandberg, and I'm kind of.
I did too. Yeah.
I really like it. I really do.
It's a great little guitar. Like, it's one of my favorites. Because my work setup is just the other half of my desk over there. And so my Strandberg, this like if I'm like just kind of in listening to meetings all day, like if I don't have to be on camera, like it just like fits right in my lap, and I can just kind of like noodle around. Like
that's awesome.
It's the perfect little just kind of like pick it up and play around guitar. Like,
light as a feather too. Yeah, they're so light. They're chambered also, so it's like so light that you don't even feel it.
It's you know, so I mean, all I've done is like, you know, I replaced the pickups because it's one of the like Indo guitars like that's just got, you know, whatever pickups in it. But like that's a killer little guitar. I love it.
Well, I've been a little enamored with asymmetrical cards in the last year or two. But.
So I'll show you. This one actually has probably the most I've pushed one. And I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but maybe it's really pushed over on the bass side. It might not show up on camera, but maybe not. But it's there. And that's something that I've always done for my own stuff, like because I really enjoyed that feeling, like I like where my hand can stay really relaxed, but I'm not like bumping into the rest of a thick neck, like with this part of my hand.
The first time I did one, it was a little crazy. It was a little crazier than you really want it. And then once I pieced together that you don't want to be very off at the nut end, you can get crazier at the bridge end.
Yeah,
and it just it really does feel natural. If you pick it up the opposite way, it feels really weird.
Yeah.
But playing, it feels exceptionally natural. I've decided my personal junk, I can't picture doing anything that's not asymmetrical unless somebody specifically asks for it.
Yeah. That's and that's kind of how I got myself into, or that's kind of the way I approach multi-scale stuff as well. I mean, I don't know if you've delved into that kind of world at all.
Yeah, I'm there too. I don't want to do anything straight up as just
right. Like, so, you know, but I don't want to design anything where it's like, oh, this feels weird. Like I try to do it where it's, you know, I want to have enough difference in my scale lengths where it's like, I'm actually getting the effect that I want. But also I don't want it to be so much or so angled that it's like, oh, now I have to adjust how my hand actually works to play this thing.
That's the best part.
So I try to keep it like really as kind of natural feeling as possible.
I feel like I've won when people, like relatives who aren't guitar people go, are those aren't those a little not straight? But at the same time, it's not really weird at either end.
Right. Yeah. And like, well, and your Strandberg too. Like, I mean, that's like a tiny fan. It's like a half-inch difference, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
and like that, like, if you don't think about it, it's just like not there. Like, it just feels natural for the most part.
So in my mind, if it's not, like 2 inches or more, and it's really crazy, it's not going to bother you. You're not really going to notice.
Right.
For the most part, there are times when looking down the top of the frets are not exactly on the
Right.
little frets, in line, and you kind of got to guess where you're hitting. But for the most part, all right. So it was a couple guitars ago. I started doing just 25.5 to 24 and 3/4. Just
Cool.
Gibson, and I felt like that was not going to be enough of a difference to really get the benefit of it.
Sure.
But it does feel really nice, and it seems to be kind of a happy medium. So, so the Strandbergs that are only like a half an inch difference, it's kind of, you kind of wonder what the point is. But I don't know.
I think from reading a lot of like Ola's like early papers and stuff, because he used to just write about this stuff. Like, a lot of it is just like the relaxed, like if your wrist is relaxed like throughout the whole playing range of motion, like because like a regular guitar, like I'm kind of like cocking my wrist this way and then like that way. So his multi-scale thing was more about like finding just that natural range of motion and not like
focus on ergonomics. Yeah, and
it's not like about like I need an inch longer here so I can get beefier tone, like, which is also a cool reason. But I don't that wasn't his original goal, as far as I remember.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense, and especially from his perspective, knowing where he was coming from. It was always my understanding that multi-scale was more about, especially with extended range. So you have a longer range with thicker strings so you got more attention at that same pitch. Where the wheelies, you got more bendable stuff. Makes perfect sense. But at the same time, the ergonomic argument does make sense as well. So I don't know. Like Fender Gibson is kind of there's a decent argument for that. So, but I've done something like 25 to 27, and 2 inches is a lot.
That feels like that's like in my experimenting, like once you kind of push past like an inch and a half, that's when you start getting like wacky angles at either end, and it's just like and you can kind of get the wider your fretboard is, you can get away with more fan too. So like my 8-string is 26.5 to 28, but for a 6-string, I'll only do 25.5 to 26.5. Like, so you kind of gotta like, I mean, just in what I have found comfortable as a builder, like
that makes sense.
I'm sure plenty of other people will disagree and have their own crazy stuff, but that's
I stopped building fan fret guitars. I don't do multi-scale anymore.
No,
I feel like I can just get a thicker gauge string now. Like,
that's true.
It's just It's so much easier for me to just get a bigger gauge string. Because if you want to do drop tuning, that's one reason why you want multi-scale, right? But just get a thicker gauge string. Done.
That's true. I mean, nowadays, even more than just a few years ago, like there's a crazy amount of easy access to custom strings, like all sorts of stuff like that.
And balanced tension now too. You can get a custom balanced tension set of strings for whatever you want, for whatever tuning you want too.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, I don't know if there's still a need for multi-scale anymore. I mean, that's kind of an argument I'm going to kind of try to conceptualize.
I think you could argue it both ways. For me, the only real thing that stops me from building all multi-scale all the time is getting custom pickups made. Because you can just put the bars across there, but like I want like I'm building like an expensive boutique instrument. Like I want something fancy looking on there. So then that's a me problem.
That's why you get the Marzio hot rails, so you don't have to worry about poles lining up with strings. And but it's the cheap guy approach, and by cheap, I still like $200 a set of pickups.
I mean, my last multi-scale that I did was, it was essentially just my kind of like Stratocaster analog, like with a Strat style pickguard, all that stuff, but like it was all multi-scale, but it's all angled just enough where you can get just real regular Strat single coils on there, and that's all you gotta do.
So that looks sweet. Yeah,
I really like that guitar a lot, but I don't have any pictures of it anymore.
So I've only ever played a multi-scale a couple of times in a show, like an exhibition of guitars or in a shop. So as someone that hasn't played them a lot, when Mark's saying, "Is there a need for them anymore?" Is there a case, do you think, Mark, that some players would just prefer playing on a multi-scale?
Sure.
What Andrew was saying about the actual feel of it as you're moving around being better for your wrist, and you're saying, but that's the thing that you want.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like bands move towards like baritones and bass sixes recently in the last few years, right? And that seems to be like a popular trend now, baritones and bass sixes. And they're not multi-scale, right? They're just basically really fat strings, and you have the right scale length to accommodate that. I think multi-scale was trying to solve a problem back in the day, and I don't know if we still have that problem. I think, again, I don't want to like make it sound like multi-scale isn't needed anymore, but I'm still kind of pursuing that idea to see if it's still necessary.
I see what you're saying. Like from a tension and balance perspective, I totally see where you're going. For me, it is honestly like it's more comfortable on my wrist, like to play a mild multi-scale.
Understood.
I've got to say,
for tuning, we built some. Sorry. So we built recently. So the guy from Bring Me the Horizon, his custom guitar, his string gauges, he's playing a 12 to 80 set. It's bonkers. Like it's a 6-string, 25.5-inch scale. So it's like
he's in drop A or something, right?
Yeah, but it is just like, it's 4 like just kind of chunky regular guitar strings, and then it's a 44 and an 80. It's like, what are you doing, man? like
yeah, that's all you have to do these days. Just jump up.
Yeah. So literally we had to buy like the Adair 8-string 9 to 80 set and just like throw 2 of them away. Like, okay, here we go.
So I've thought about this quite a bit, and realistically, it only really seems like it would make a significant difference in extended range where you got 7, 8, 9 strings. Realistically,
sure.
As a boutique builder, anything that's different is just cool, and fan frets look cool. And when your relatives go, "Are those supposed to be straight?" Then you get this warm fuzzy feeling that you don't get other places. There's probably not a realistic need for multi-scale outside of extended range. I'll concede that for sure.
I think that's fair. But also, I've kind of approached it like, as in the boutique world, it's like, why wouldn't you want something weird? Like just for my own like stuff. It's like, I don't want to build normal stuff. Like there's all sorts of normal stuff out there. Like,
I'm convinced that having non-normal stuff for some people will encourage a new creativity in the way they play or the way they write. So like Mark's guitars look very strange visually, and you said it was almost like learning a new instrument with one of your great guitar builds, and that sort of thing will bring something out that you couldn't get with a normal.
100%. That's why I built it. I built a 9-string 5-inch fan with curved frets.
Oh my god!
And you couldn't.
You did like the Oni like E scale kind of thing.
Yeah, E scale, exponential scale. Yeah, and you couldn't play a G chord on there if you tried. Like you know, like, but
not what
it's still,
for.
yeah, you approach it differently, you know, you play it differently. Yeah.
That's really cool. So having never tried to bend a fret the other way, how did you have to just like figure out a jig to like bend them to fit those
Tried
slots?
everything. Yeah. I tried everything and everything didn't work. Ultimately, what I had to do was overbend it.
Okay.
And then bend it back into a straighter shape. So I had a metal round something, I can't remember what it was. And just kind of, I had to because it has a memory. Frets have a memory. I put it in a jig to bend it, and then you set it there for 24 hours, undo the jig, and just go straight. Like it'll just go back to straight. So you have to overbend to kink it, and then kind of bend it back to straight to where you need it. And I had to do that for every fret, and it sucked. I'm never doing it again.
Interesting. Huh.
So you'll have to check out Mark's videos.
I will.
You need
There's
to see
links in the description to this video for all of us. But Andrew, I've only got an Instagram for you. Is that right?
That is, yeah. That's all I've kind of been on.
I wasn't
recently.
judging you by only having Instagram.
I heard it. I honestly, and I haven't even been that active on that because a lot of what I'm doing is development work that I can't share until it's released, you know. But I need to post some of my recent stuff because I mean, like I said, I am working on a couple of side projects like that. I think they're very cool, but maybe someone else will. I'm just not that active on social media, honestly.
Well, I guess there's no need to be, and this brings me back sort of to a question that Christopher in the chat asked earlier. Like we could talk about Jackson for ages, but if we just get back to your Knightro guitars,
sure.
He was saying, how did you stay financially stable when doing your own models? If not, what pushed you over the edge to move to a large manufacturer?
Okay, so
did you?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. You carry on.
Okay, so that's actually kind of a combination of several different factors. Okay, so when I first kind of like really kicked off my company, I was still using my GI benefits, right? So as long as I was full time in school, my rent's paid, my tuition's paid. So, you know, I had to make enough income to pay for my shop space and whatever I was doing there. So for the first like couple years, I was able to kind of piggyback on my GI benefits, which, I mean, obviously, again, I'm incredibly lucky to be in the position I'm in, like just wherever I've kind of landed myself doing this stuff. But, you know, I mean, also, you know, I paid for it by doing 7 years in the Army. That's not fun. Like, you know, I deserved it. So there was that. And then once I ran out of kind of school time, you know, that's when I started teaching at the School of Woodwork. That's when I also, you know, once I got my certs in SolidWorks stuff, that's where I picked up the plastics factory job. You know, and then at that point, I had moved my shop from a rented large space to how can I cram all this crap in my 2-car garage? So, you know, I transitioned, I did it kind of backwards. I transitioned from a big rented shop to my house. So, you know, without the overhead of rent, once I was kind of building and repairing regularly, like that kind of like helped too. You know, I realize this may not be super helpful because it's not a template for how people normally conduct their life. But
it's very interesting.
Thank you. I've just kind of just smashed my way through. How do I keep this thing going? What did I do in the Army? I was a satellite network coordinator. So I worked in all sorts of sad windowless buildings, watching electronic signals. My last 3 years I was on the NSA campus, just, you know, in a little black box.
I was about to say that sounds like the life of a programmer, and then you said NSA, and now I'm not
I mean, I had to pick up just a tiny bit of programming. Like I had to learn Fortran for one of the old machines. Like, that's how old all this equipment is. Like, this computer has been running continuously since 1982 or whatever. Like, and it's like, this is the one thing keeping this satellite alive. Like, this cannot happen. This cannot go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I had to learn, how to deal with all this weird old stuff, which is also a really cool job.
I've never seen a line of Fortran.
I couldn't. I honestly don't remember. I learned enough to do my kind of like daily, like, you still working? Okay, good.
All I know is Fortran is good for scientific stuff, and COBOL is good for financial stuff. That's when it comes to ancient languages. That's the extent of my knowledge. And I had a job that involved COBOL. It didn't last 6 weeks, but yeah, that's gross.
It's always looked like. That's always something I've had, like, kind of I would say a passing interest, because, like, I don't have the patience to do coding. Like, I just don't. So it's always fascinating, like, because that's what you do, like, just like for your work, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks like magic to me, because, like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Honestly, I think those of us that wind up getting into building, I think a lot of us tend to have a do-it-yourself kind of attitude, and programming was an extension of that as well. It just came out of dealing with computers, and I want to figure out how to do this, and I just kind of stumbled into a path that led me in that direction. So, but I genuinely, in a number of areas of life, think that it came from this DIY kind of personality attitude thing.
Sure.
Yeah, and when you discovered that you can build your own guitars, that definitely fell under that umbrella.
Yeah. So what got you started building? What was your deal?
Mine is a story. My 8-year-old kid.
No. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
We're back.
Sorry,
Okay.
everyone.
So my 8-year-old kid was in Cub Scouts, and we got a Pinewood Derby project. You familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a block of wood with 4 nails and wheels, and you got to build a car. Yeah. And this was just like a couple months after my dad was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and Dad always had me helping him do junk in the shop. I just, as a kid, I didn't care. I, put in the bare minimum to make Dad happy. I didn't realize how much I'd actually gleaned from that experience on, how to use tools and things. And I wound up spending a lot of time in the shop working on these cars, and found that it was extremely cathartic. And that's how it started for me. Well, I'm still talking about Pinewood Derby cars. In 2 years, I made 7 damn cars, and I can't keep making stupid Pinewood Derby cars. My ice cream sandwich car won the Lowe's Dremel photo competition. And it was supposed to be the display for Dremel and all the Lowe's in the nation in 2014, I think it was.
Oh, no way.
I never saw one. I wanted to get it. I wanted to have my car and take a picture in front of one of the displays, and I never found one. But
I just need to pause you, Scott. Just need to pause you. Have you ice cream sandwich everything you've ever done?
No. It was the car. It was the Pinewood Derby car.
Right. Because I just made an ice cream sandwich guitar as well. A guitar.
Oh, no way.
We're getting there. So.
Oh, sorry.
I'm making all these damn cars, and clearly I can make them pretty. They didn't necessarily perform awesome. Like, if you've ever dealt with Cub Scout Pinewood Derby junk, they get insane. I mean, down to the micron level of weight. Anyway, one of the other dads said, "Have you ever heard of Darbox guitars?" I'm like, "What the hell is that?" He said, "Google it." So I did, and I was like, "Holy shit! You can just order fret wire and build your own damn guitar." And that's where it started, and it kind of went from there. So eventually, I finally decided to make an ice cream sandwich guitar, and that was when the first Great Guitar Build-Off came along. But that's why, for me, building has always been a hobby, and it's always been a genuinely cathartic hobby. So one of my considerations early on, with the problems I saw with turning it into a business was, getting away from the hobby aspect and turning into, a job with, dickheads that want whatever that I don't want to build.
That's
So I've been happy to keep it as a hobbyist endeavor. And that's why when I do see somebody online that shits on somebody's build video, I really have a problem, because I'm like, for me, in my journey, it was all about it's medicine for the soul, spending time in the shop and building stuff. So to see somebody dump on that always really bothers me, because why would you do that to somebody? It's not like they're sharing a political opinion that that can make you mad. This guy is trying to build something, and if you think what he's building is crap, then you've been there. You had to have been there. You know the level, and you should know the journey, and you should appreciate that. It's like seeing a fat guy at the gym. You should, in your mind, you should be thinking, "Good for you. I hope you."
Yeah, you're going for it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not, "Oh, this fat bastard." If that's what occurs to you, you have the completely wrong attitude for life.
Yeah, I mean, I can, for sure. Like, and actually, so being able to do kind of my own stuff, like as a hobby again, like, has been like really nice. Like, because it's like, hey, I can like, just like, I'm gonna try something, like, and I don't have to. Yeah, and it's really nice, like being able to kind of like turn off the like, oh god, I gotta sell this month right now, because that was always the only real negative of being a custom luthier is mostly the customers. But I had a particularly like weird strain of like two guys like at the very end that were just like total nightmares, and it's kind of like soured me on it a little bit, but it's I know that's not the normal experience. Hopefully,
I could kind of see that coming before I ever got there, because when I first started in college, I was a graphics design major, and I had been drawing since I was old enough to hold something, and the thought occurred to me, this is a hobby. I enjoy this. It's a creative outlet, and I don't think I'm gonna, if I turn this into a job where it turns into somebody tells me what to draw, how many times, and what color, it's just going to suck all the fun out of it.
Yeah.
And that realization, just kind of filtered over to guitar building, and especially, like I said, how I started building.
That's a good realization to have early on. Like a lot of people, myself included, get into it, and then it's just like, oh no, like what have I done?
Yeah, I'm kind of reluctant to share that story, because I don't want to. I totally lost the word. I don't want to discourage people that may actually be successful at that. But
yeah, I mean, and I also similarly, like anybody out there, I don't want to discourage you from giving it a shot. I know, I mean, even like when I was really active, like outside of my situation being oddly conducive to it working out for the first couple of years. I was really lucky to have a pretty steady base of customers. you know, just
And it
for
sounds like
whatever reason.
And it sounds like a wife that was supportive of that nonsense as well.
Gosh, yeah, she's way nicer to me than I deserve. But gosh, yeah, you know, I never want to discourage anybody from doing it. You know, but I would also I don't want to hide my experience with it either. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like I said, temper expectations.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, you know, it's, you know, you got to figure out if it's the right move for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the way the first, I don't know, 20 builds are going to go, just do it for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. My first, you know, it doesn't, at least we're just like straight to the dumpster. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've still got like one of my early ones, and it just lives in a case in the closet, and no one sees it. Like, I have it just so I have it.
Yeah.
But it's like that has never seen the light of day if I can help it.
Mine are on a rack.
Snap the key off the little latch.
Yep.
I was just checking that I think maybe I've frozen on people's screens, but maybe
You did for a
everyone's.
while.
You were frozen for a while.
Yeah, well, it's my whole new setup out here for my 3 a.m. live chats. So look, I think there's so much more we could talk about with Jackson, and that even with talking about your, we didn't really talk that much about Knightro to see some of your designs. So it'd be great, Andrew, if you're up for coming back one day soon.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's nice to come and hang out with you guys. I don't, you know.
We'll definitely try and do it when Corey can make it as well. Cause,
yeah, it'd be cool to have. Yeah, it'd be cool to get on and chat with him too.
Yeah.
And hey, like whatever time like works for everybody, like I can adjust. Like it doesn't have to be, you know. But I mean, I know you guys are all kind of scooting around as much as you can anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And also, what's interesting is if we do it at slightly different times, we get slightly different people in the live chat as well. So It's always good to have that element where people are there.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, it sounds like, I might be wrong here, Andrew, that you're working on something at the moment at Jackson that might be going public or live soon.
So
that we can get you back on to talk about once it's happened.
Sure. So what I will share is a lot of my kind of main tasks at work are with the American series that launched last year. So this is the first time that Jackson has been mass produced in the USA. So this is kind of like spinning up all the people in the factory in Corona. Like, this is how you do this stuff. So, you know, anything that you've seen in the American series so far. So we got like our soloist, you know, and virtuoso or dinky. It's the same thing. I'm not supposed to say that, I don't think. But you know, there's more in the pipeline for the American series. So it's all the iconic Jackson stuff. And I don't think I can reveal anything, you know, too specific, but imagine some Jackson stuff made in the USA.
Cool. Well, do you know what? Once that's out there, it would be very cool to chat to you about, if you can, the progress that's gone through to get to being out there the next lot.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that stuff. I mean, it's already been kind of a few years in the making for the stuff that we have out now. So, you know, there's just going to be more and more rolling out. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's next. Well, I can't tell you, but you know,
yeah.
What's actually releasing next.
So, I mean, again, this might be something you disagree with,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily something you can't talk about. But on a podcast I was listening to the other day, I think it might have been, I'm sure it was on the Tone Mob podcast, they were talking about this idea that some of the Asian factories are set up in a way that they can definitely produce high quality guitars.
Oh yeah.
But some of the companies that would produce an American range and a range produced in those factories would definitely want the ones that are produced not in America to be of a slightly lower standard, so you can tell that the American ones are the better ones. So they maybe don't have quite the same level of finish on them deliberately. I don't know how true that is, but I thought that was an interesting concept. A very
Sounds like a
concept.
conspiracy theory almost.
It really does, doesn't it?
I mean, okay, so I work with a lot of the various Asian factories, right? Gosh, you know, any difference in quality is like, you know, any of these guitars that you see, like the Indonesian Jacksons, even you know, Korean, Japanese, whatever, that stuff is wildly good for the price. Like, I mean, I know you guys all know, like, buying a cheap guitar back in the day was like, this is a cheap guitar. Like, this sucks. And like now, like a $500 guitar is awesome. Like it's crazy. That's yeah. You know, and the CNC aside, like there are kind of different levels of fit and finish that you're paying for. You know,
I think that's the thing that maybe the implication is at those factories, the companies that want them to not be as good as the American ones aren't paying for the full fit and finish that they could pay for, but would raise the cost of the guitar.
So, I mean, it's not so much like we're trying to keep the quality down there. It's more of a function of like the actual like unit throughput. Like I know I need to make 500 of this thing at this factory in Indonesia. Like, how can we pump 500 of these things out? Like, and that's just where how you get the like lower price point too, is like we're making 1 million of these really quick. So it's not, you know, it's not so much that you're trying to have lower quality. It's like, you know, at different price points in the market, it's a balance of like, where do you spend that time?
Yeah. So I think then, as Mark was saying, it does sound conspiracy theorist, but
Sure.
The implication is if you wanted to have a higher price point at that factory, they could do it, but it would just be a higher price point.
It is not a limitation of the people at those factories. So we actually partner with we have a Chinese factory. Some of the new stuff that just launched, it's Pro Plus is the series. Like, those guitars are incredibly well made. It is not, you know, and it's, you know, again, you're stepping into the like over $1,000 range, right? You know, any kind of like cheapness you'd see in an Asian made guitar is not because someone there can't do it. Like, it is how much time are you willing to pay to have this worked on?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of factory logic, you know. That's kind of how it is.
Brad just mentioned in the chat that apparently PRS have a US carve for their guitars, and their Asia range SC guitars have a slightly different cut. So you know that that's what you're getting. It's not just it's made in a different factory. It's a slightly different design. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And there's some similar stuff, like, so for Jackson, like, you know, like that like neck heel carve that is on that Virtuoso is, that's for the US models. Like, you don't get that, you know, there's a different version of that in the Asian models. So like, you know, it's visually similar. Like, this is like, it's all part of the family. But you know, you do want to still differentiate, because there is that prestige factor, kind of like, you know, because, you know, you bring out your USA Strat and like that, hey, look, I announced it. Like, you know, everyone says like, my American Strat, my Mexi Strat, like whatever, like, because you want like, you know, some level of like recognition for like, I recognize the cool stuff. Like,
yeah, right.
But you know, it's the same reason people buy like custom shop or, you know, boutique stuff. It's like, I want that little prestige.
So, Mark, have you got a plan for what your next Jackson purchase is going to be?
Yeah, so I got the Soloist, and I picked up a Warrior. And I think I need a Rhodes now to round off the collection.
It's important.
Yeah.
I'm looking like a bad Jackson guy. I have a Rhodes in my collection. But,
yeah, my last trip to Guitar Center, I'm gonna need to wait to recruit for my orange, my black. But the Jacksons I see there, I have like 3 store-bought guitars at the moment, but I might need to expand it just a little bit.
Especially all of our overseas stuff, we work so hard with these factories and like our like supply people to like, I mean, we work really hard on relationships with everyone there to like get the best we can out of these like places. Like it's a lot of work. But I mean, I think it comes through in the product, you know?
Yes. Like you when we talk about the cheaper guitars being made in cheaper factories, one of the things I watch on YouTube a lot is reviews of guitars and reviews of budget guitars. I'm always intrigued by the budget guitars and what their difference is. And the reviewers always talk really about the playability of it all. They rarely, or not the basic playability of it all. They rarely get into all the carves and the aesthetic things that I think make the guitars, for me, what they are. And I've talked about this before. When you see a boutique builder who's carefully picked their wood grain and positioned everything, their template, so everything looks so amazing, that's never really a conversation. And I think that is something you definitely lack in those budget guitars.
Sure. And you know, and again, that just comes down to time and like, hey, am I gonna pay this guy to sit and select veneers? No. It's like next one out of the box, man, slap it on there. Let's go. You know, and that's just, you know, that's the bonus of going boutique.
Yeah, but that's actually what I meant. I meant it in relation to when you're talking about the sort of extra bits you get on your American made series.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
beyond budget. That's
right. Yeah. You know, and then it's also like the hardware that you're selecting. Like, you know, you're gonna even or like the inlay on all the American series stuff right now. Like those sharks, that's real big chunks of pearl. Like we didn't do the plastic stuff. Like that's like it's real big pieces of pearl. And like that's just like I feel like it's a really nice like premium touch. Like it really catches your eye versus like just the white pearloid that's on import stuff.
You know, early on, I really didn't think that much about it, and I still haven't seen a lot of actual pearl. But I remember Ben Crow, you know, always referring to the pearloid stuff as ode to toilet.
Yeah. It's a mother of toilet seat. Yeah, that's the
mother of toilet. Yeah.
You know, like I'm trying not to look like too much of a company shill, but I am very proud of these. You know, it's all big chunks of real pearl.
Wow, really big chunks.
It's a lot. You know, so that's just part of what makes these like kind of above the rest of the line is just, you know, and all the fit and finish, like, you know, the fretboard edges are like really nicely rounded, like all the frets are really nicely dressed, like it's all that detail work. But you know, stuff like that.
I've got to say, one of the things I love about doing a live stream is it felt like the next step from just chatting online. You get a proper conversation because you're face to face with someone. But now the thing I'm missing in the live streams is being able to play the guitars that people are holding up. I feel like, I've got to at least be able to go to a shop tomorrow and try out some of these Jackson American made ones to feel what it's like. Because I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure I've ever. Of course, I have. I've had a couple of Jacksons come in, like I mentioned before, to do the custom work on. But I've never played on the roads before. That'd be brilliant. Got to do that, as Mark will be soon. Anyway, look, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to call it quits there because it's nearly time for me to wake up in the morning.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
So, my kids are normally up in about half an hour, so I might get a cup of tea in before they wake up.
Yeah, this one's been more than 2 hours, but this one's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. It's really
I've had a good time hanging out with you guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I definitely, we'll definitely get you back when those guitars come out. Get Corey on as well. Have you actually spoken to Corey not in real life, but other than type?
No, honestly, I haven't. Like, I mean, we've just been, we've texted for years now. Like, but it'd be cool to actually get on and hang out.
Oh, he just said sorry he missed this one. Absolutely, don't be sorry at all. I stupidly, when I timetabled this and put up the stream so people knew it was coming, I put the wrong date on. I put it up for what I thought was Thursday, my day, but that would have been Wednesday for you. Oh, it's all too confusing. And just to confuse everyone more, the next couple of weeks we're doing it at the time that we're doing that sort of suits Corey and the Australians. So that's 8 o'clock or 8:30 their time, which is 11 a.m. my time, and I think is the middle of the night for Americans.
Yeah,
But in video description, there is a playlist that you can click on, which has got all the past episodes of the live stream, and it has the scheduled ones coming up, and it will have the correct times for the scheduled ones as well. So you can click on it and see where it is in your time. And as I mentioned before, we've got all our Instagrams and YouTubes, and so maybe we'll be seeing some more of Andrew's work on his Instagram soon.
I gotta start throwing some stuff up there.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see some of your personal stuff. But personal.
There is some up there, so go check it out.
Yeah, I mean that's all that's on there now. Is just, I mean, it's all older. But well, I've got. If you got 2 seconds here. Oh, I think there's a couple of pictures of this on Instagram. This is my 32-inch scale 6-string bass I'm working on. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, sure.
So I'm just waiting to pull the trigger on all the electronics because it's expensive.
Yep. I understand that.
But otherwise, I mean that's kind of what I've been working on my own time when I've got the juice.
Awesome.
Cool.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed this.
I'm really glad to have met you guys and gotten to hang out for the last couple hours. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone in the chat. And if you're watching in the future, if you leave a comment, we'll check it out and get back to you all. So thanks everyone. Take care and goodbye, good night, good morning.
Don't look at my YouTube channel.
The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of...
Oh, that didn't work.
That didn't work.
Man.